thinking a lot about houses lately, so this video is going to come to you in 4 house-shaped parts. Part 1, moving. If you watched my last video, you'll know that I just helped my grad school Beffy Mary Beth move back to the Midwest for her PhD program. Like a week before that, I moved myself from a tiny and really crappy row house in Philadelphia to a big, beautiful house in the suburbs outside of Philly. It's so gorgeous out here, I don't even feel bad about living in the suburbs. Plus, we have things like trees and this beautiful and giant wall of books. Okay, really it's my wall of books, but it gets to live there while I'm here. And a wheezing toilet named Frank. Part 2, Virginia Woolf. So another reason I've been thinking about houses is because I'm reading Hermione Lee's biography of Virginia Woolf for a class that I'm going to be TAing in the fall. But like a good student, I've been diligently reading one of my assigned texts for the class, and Hermione Lee, pencil just fell out. Hermione Lee has an entire chapter on the houses that Virginia Woolf grew up in. There were 2 main houses. One was 22 Hyde Park Gate in London, and the other was a summer house in Cornwall. Virginia's father Leslie wrote about that house in a really great passage that I'm going to read to you guys. It is so clear that we see 30 miles of coast as plainly as we see the back of Queen's Gate from our drawing room in London. We have a little garden, which is not much to boast of, and yet it is a dozen little gardens, each full of romance for the children. Lawns surrounded by flowering hedges, and corners in which you come upon unexpected puppies, altogether a pocket paradise with a sheltered cove of sand in easy reach just below. Unexpected puppies. What more could you ask for in a house? Unexpected kitty! Meow? Anyway. Part 3, The House of Your Dreams. So reading all of these things got me thinking about this French philosopher named Gaston Bachelard, who wrote a book called The Poetics of Space. And in it he talks about how important experiences of our physical surroundings are to our psychology and our memories and our dreams. For the real houses of memory, the houses to which we return in dreams, the houses that are rich in unalterable ownerism, do not readily lend themselves to description. To describe them would be like showing them to visitors. We can perhaps tell everything about the present, but what about the past? And that's sort of the key factor to any house. You make it your own by inhabiting it. Visitors can't understand what it's like to really live there. The house is both private and intimate in these really profound ways, and I think that's why it becomes such a compelling metaphor for authors like Virginia Woolf. I mentioned earlier Virginia's 22 Hyde Park Gate house, which I also showed you on the map in the little intro to this video. Virginia herself adapted that house into novels like The Years, in which she writes, "They slid with a familiar click along the brass rod, and soon the windows were obscured by thick sculptured folds of claret-colored plush. When she had drawn by the curtains in both rooms, a profound silence seemed to fall upon the drawing room, the world outside thickly and entirely cut off." Part 4, The House at Rueil. Rueil? I can't really say it. Manet's painting about a house. La Maison de Rueil. I really can't say that, so I apologize to all you French speakers for totally butchering that town name. You can see Manet's painting in really great detail on Google Art Projects. There's a link in the thing below. So Manet's painting is just of the facade of this house. It's beautiful, like a lot of Manet's work. It is sort of got these greens and yellows and blues that make it seem very summery and warm. There's shade, so you feel like you would be comfortable even though it might be hot out. To me, the most interesting thing about this painting is the tree that bisects the middle of the frame, and what it serves to do actually is block the front door of the house. You see the triangle-shaped cornice piece there, and then you see what maybe looks like a door, and maybe it's even open but the tree really obscures any chance you would have of seeing into the house. And so even though you have this very inviting, the garden path that circles around and leads you up to the front door, this house is cut off from you. As a viewer, you're cut off from the house itself. So it invites you at the same time that it distances you. I think that is what Virginia Woolf was writing about, except from the other perspective of someone being in the house. You imagine being in this house, and even if the front door is open or the windows are unshuttered, you are sort of fortified. And if you take that metaphor just a step further, we are all our own little houses. We can let people visit and they can imagine what it's like to inhabit our space, but they can't ever really live there inside of us, our little houses, and they can't ever really know. And yet we keep our doors open anyway. Maybe they're obscured a little bit like they are in Manet's painting, but open nonetheless. We keep inviting people in.